have years of suppressed emotions and bottled up emotions that I'm dealing with, but then I have to deal with my current emotions and current things. So everything is just clashing and mixing, and it's like, right, there's just too much going on. But I guess it's just dealing with them just one thing at a time and as they come.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Junaid. Welcome to the From Black Men podcast, the podcast where we share black men's stories across different aspects of their lives. Today I'll be joined with Mishak and we'll be talking about music and mental health. Hi Mishak.
Hello Rachel.
It's good to have you on here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Can you just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you?
My name is Mishak, or full government name is Shack Santima. I'm Congolese, 26, raised in Cardiff in Wales. Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, tell us about life in Cardiff.
So life in Cardiff, it was very different to London. Obviously I was born in Congo, then from Congo moved to France, then from France to London, then from London to Birmingham.
Okay.
Then from Birmingham I went to Cardiff. Essentially I was meant to grow up in Milton Keynes, but that didn't go to plan. But my mum wanted to be closer to her siblings and her friends, which half of them are in London, most of them are in Cardiff. So yeah, Cardiff was different. Obviously growing up there as a black individual where it was predominantly white, I was racially bullied in school. I just didn't feel like I fitted in. And you know, like back then being African wasn't cool. Like it was something that was kind of like shunned upon and made fun of. So I had to do a lot of suppressing, a lot of pretending, a lot of masking. So regardless of like the life lessons, regardless of, you know, being raised there, in terms of like, it was much more quieter, even though I did find myself in certain circumstances and situations, but that was because I chose to be around the wrong people. But other than that, yeah, apart from the aspect of kind of like the bullying aspect and not the best experiences, I can't knock down the fact that it's still home. Like my family are there, still there, my siblings are still there. So whenever I go back there, it's like, this is home, this is like my quiet space. But yeah.
Wow. So with, you mentioned living in Cardiff and also being like racially bullied while you were there, how did that impact you?
Impacted me in a lot of ways, to the point where there was one point I started bleaching.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be light skinned.
Yeah.
Because obviously being dark skinned was an issue. So it was like, back then, like being light skinned was cool, you know, light skin, blue eyes, curly hair. So I started stuff like relaxing my hair so I can get curls in my hair, bleaching my skin, which was a terrible experience because obviously my skin reacted badly to it. So I had like patches and stuff like that. So I just tried to fit in and kind of suppress the way that you lot see me now in terms of like my Congolese side. You would have never seen that in Cardiff. It was kind of like something that was like very deep and suppressed. Like I didn't feel like I had the environment or the confidence to be myself. That only happened realistically until I came to London.
Okay.
But,
Wow. So throughout this time, obviously you mentioned being racially bullied, suppressing your culture, even being Congolese. I know music is a big thing. So how did that present itself in primary school, secondary school?
So my mum used to tell me like she used to have like old videotapes of me dancing, like when I was young. But obviously it came to the age when I just started experiencing racial slurs and comments. And at that time as well, my English wasn't like 10 out of 10. So I was still learning to speak like proper English. It wasn't as polished as it is now. I was more fluent in like my native languages, which was Lingala and French. So yeah, it was kind of like just daunting in a sense. It was kind of like I would look at like my cousins, my older cousins, you know, my aunts, my uncles, my siblings and stuff like that, and just hearing them like just speaking the language, just proper embracing the culture. But for me, it's like, because I suppressed it, I feel like I could only be like that around them. Obviously, if I'm in an environment where it's, you know, Congolese wedding, or, you know, you're with your family and stuff like that, then it's easier for you to be like that because everyone's like that. So it brings it out of you. But in a sense of school, and just when I'm out and about, like it wasn't something that I was loud and proud of. Sometimes I think, sometimes I try to not even identify. I'd just be like, no, I'm French. Like, I wouldn't be like, I'm African, I'm Congolese. I'd be like, no, I'm French. But I'm not. I just did a little pit stop in France for a bit before coming here. But
And then with that, at the time, how were you coping with the emotions that may have come with what you were going through in school?
I was a suppressor, I can't lie. For as long as I've known, I just knew how to bottle things and suppress things and just push them down. Because when I feel intensively, like my emotions are weird. They're very strong. Like when I feel love, I feel it to like the fullest extent. When I feel hate, I feel it to a point of rage where it's very bad. So it's kind of like it was too overwhelming. The emotions were too overwhelming for me to deal with. So I just suppressed them and kind of like just dismissed them and tried my best to just contain it and bottle it. And for me, I was telling myself, it's just self-control, self-discipline. It's showing that I've got patience, but really and truly, I was just storing things up inside.
And then at what point did writing come in for you?
Writing came to me. It was in primary. But I never used to write my own stuff. So obviously I grew up on, Channel aka Channel U, like the old kind of like when grime, garage and stuff like that was on the rise. So it was when I had a Sony Ericsson, I think, Sony Ericsson Walkman and stuff like that. And I used to see my friends on the playground, they used to clash. They used to do like rap battles, they used to clash. The youth clubs I used to go to, they'd have like studio session and I'll see the olders just like spitting and they're sending for this and this area, and all of that stuff. So for me, I didn't start off writing my own stuff. I would search up, and I think it was like Yahoo Answers or something. I'll search up like rap lyrics and I was kind of just plagiarize and like pass them on as if they were my own, but it wasn't. So I just used to steal people's lyrics, even on YouTube comments, when you're looking for beats. And some people are just rapping in the comments. I was like, ooh, that sounds hard. Let me just take that. And then maybe like twist it or something. But yeah, that's the point I was writing. So it was pretty much primary school, I would say between year 5 and year 6, around them times. But then obviously the first time I started writing for myself, like actually my own organic lyrics that authentically came from me, that was in secondary school. So I'm talking around year 7, year 8.
And then for you, what were the lyrics you were writing? So were these lyrics random topics? Was it you expressing your emotions? How would you describe the type of lyrics you wrote at that time?
So I used to love a lot of spoken word and poetry. Like I would say I started off there first, because I used to like be the kid at the back of the bus just writing poems. Or if I had a crush, I'd write like little love letters. And then the man on the bus would they'll take my notes and read it out loud and all of that stuff. So I really loved poetry and spoken word. Even though back then it seemed as moist. But for me, I don't know. It's just, like the words, the way things are put together, the way like you can paint pictures with words. It was so, like, I found that so amazing and I wanted to do that. So I would listen to a lot of spoken word and poetry and try to write my own, or sometimes I would copy others and try and twist it and make it my own. So that's where I kind of started off. But for me, my lyrics, they came basically about my life. And it was kind of like a counter to what was popular then. Stuff like drill was on the rise. People were rapping about killing the area, post-Cold Wars, girls, money and stuff like that. And it's like, I knew that if I was going to be a rapper, that I have to actually live what I rap. So there's no point in me rapping about stuff that's not me. That's good. Like, so it's kind of like I can't rap about having hella money, but then I don't have money. It doesn't make no sense. It doesn't add up, because when people actually get to know me and meet me live, or like, you look nothing like what you rap. So for me, I wanted to counter that, and I just wanted to send a positive message. I just wanted to be, my music was more kind of affirmation, encouraging, rather than kind of like full on gospel. Like I would mention God here and there, but it wasn't as intense as it is now, to the revelation that I have of him now than I was opposed to back then. So back then was more kind of like uplifting, encouraging. I wanted to be the hero, because obviously I grew up watching anime. So I just wanted to be like the superhero that saves and supports and help everyone. So that's kind of like what my music was like. You know
how you mentioned that you didn't want to write music that was about things that you hadn't lived out or wasn't related to your life, so you didn't want to write about like money or women and that type of thing. Were there any artists that inspired your type of writing style?
There's, back then I used to listen to Little Snoop. He's an artist that was signed to Meek Mill. I used to listen to Meek Mill as well. Like that real rap kind of like music. Yeah, if we're taking it back, like real rap, you have like the Joe Blacks, you have, you know, Squeak, Stevie S. There's so many other artists that like spit real rap. But yeah, Lil Snoop was someone that I listened to a lot because he was a freestyler, and he would freestyle about like pain, you know, emotions, passions, not growing up with a dad and stuff like that, his mum and all of that, kind of like his surrounding and everything he'll go through. And later on, I would say that like currently, the biggest person that influenced me in terms of like writing real rap music is Satan Dave, because he touches upon mental health, emotional health, black community, all of that stuff. I can't relate with his cruddy side, obviously, because obviously he has older brothers who have been part of gang lives, who are all in prison. Like he's been around like friends and stuff like that, but his other side, where the more deeper side, that's what I'm more in tune with, and that's what kind of like ignited me to kind of like go deeper in terms of my music when it comes to that, as opposed to obviously people like later on I found out about Still Shady and you know the rest of like the gospel artists and gospel scene. But
no, it's interesting that you mentioned Dave, because he's someone that out of some of the UK artists, he's someone that I really like his music, particularly when he did the Psychodrama album. Even just how he started the first song, I was like, wow. Because you know how, like, you've obviously listened to it, right?
Yeah.
You know how he starts and then he just takes a deep breath. He's like, I'm struggling from manic depression. I'm like, whoa. So for me, like, even as you're talking, I remember listening to him and being like, wow, like, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to seeing black men talk about this particular area, but him describing it in depth, like, the language that he gave and how he articulated, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And then similar to that, I know there's songs that you have where you're very vulnerable as well.
I never used to. If anyone who knows me knows I hate being vulnerable. Any of my friends, any of my family know that I don't really talk or open up unless I have to, unless I'm like backed into a corner. I was like, fine. But I never used to really, in my music, like my current music, it just used to be just the gospel, like gospel was my faith, but I never really went deep into things. And I think the very first time I went into something deep, this is back in SoundCloud days. Like I've got old music on my SoundCloud. This is where my voice was still squeaky, and that's when I started to kind of like open up a bit more. Then I would say my first song that opened up even deeper is Insomnia. But yeah, I never really liked to speak. But like I said, the more I listen to Dave, the more I was like, I can open up, because it's essentially opening up and being transparent. That's your testimony. Sometimes I used to think, oh, like my testimony is not that deep, so I don't really need to open up. There's people who have gone through, you know, much worse, and who their story would be much more impactful or would matter more, people would care about more. But the more I learned, it's like, you know, me opening up, someone can relate to what I've been through, the same way that some like people relate with, you know, Dave opening up and being transparent about what he's been through. I was like, okay, like let me give it a try. And a lot of the times I was scared of my mum finding out certain things that she doesn't know, and it's like, oh, I don't really, because she listens to my music. So it's like, do I want my mum to know about this? Do I want my siblings to know about this? Do I want my family? But yeah, I got over that hurdle in the end. So.
Even onto that, because I was thinking, so you mentioned Insomnia, like what was that process of you even being comfortable to write the song and then say, I'm going to release it publicly? Because when you're being vulnerable like that, it's one thing when you're just writing for yourself and it's just, I'm just expressing myself, but everyone gets to see that side of you.
So Insomnia, funny enough, I wrote it while I was up, so I couldn't sleep. And I'm just, you know, when you're just bothered, you're bothered, you can't sleep, you're just frustrated. So I just started to listen to instrumentals. Then I just started writing, and I literally stayed up. I had studio the next morning, so I stayed up all night to finish the song, but I couldn't go to sleep anyway. So I was like, since I can't go to sleep, I may as well just stay up and finish the song. Stayed up, finished the song, had like maybe like 2-3 hours sleep, got up, got to the studio and recorded it. And for me, it was just kind of like, it was one of those things that just put it out there. Just put it out there. Like whether people like it or not, it's kind of like a release. Because for me, music is not something that I see as, fame, fortune and awards and stuff like that. I generally struggle with expressing myself. So that was the only outlet that I can use to actually put everything that I'm feeling into words. Because sometimes, you know, when you have just so much emotions, you don't know how to articulate it. You do in your head, but it's like, how am I gonna say it? So for me, it was like, I used to do journaling, I used to write diary, I used to write letters to God. Everything was kind of like put on pen, paper. So that's what music helped me to do, is kind of express those emotions that I'm not able to express on a one-to-one conversation. And that actually helped me to actually have conversations like this and actually be transparent. So,
It's so interesting hearing you say this about how music was allowing you to write these things down, release the emotions and experiences that you were having, because it just reminds me of, even with my newsletter Raw Journal, like even the name is me wanting to write and express myself, but also have like a public forum where it's things that I would write in a journal but watered down, that I wouldn't mind sharing publicly for other people who may have similar experiences to me. So it's interesting hearing you talk about it from the music side. And I know you mentioned that, you know, you pushed through and shared it. I know for myself, there's times when if I'm being vulnerable, even though I don't mind people seeing it, it's still be like, oh, people get to see me. Like, do you never think about, oh, like someone's gonna look at me differently?
100%.
Or, like, how is this gonna come across?
Yeah, because I wanted to be like that guy that's just in the background, that's low key. You know, I was very much kind of like, I had this persona. I used to call myself a lone wolf growing up. Like, I really just wanted to be out of the mix, and I was like, just have a wall. I don't want anyone to know me, to know my deep side. I'm just gonna be blunt with everyone. So it's kind of like, like I'm letting people in. And it's not just anyone. Is like, my music is out there, so anyone can search my music and find it and listen and be like, oh right, like he struggles with insomnia, he struggles with anxiety, depression, what's going on with him? So it's, I used to think, like, why am I doing this? But then at the same time, I was like, there's a purpose to it. There's a reason why I need to do this. So, but I think about it all the time, because like, it's like, oh, now people are gonna ask me questions. And one thing about me is I can ask questions, but I hate being asked questions. I hate it. It's like, right, you a fed, like, why you asking me bare questions for? But
is this making you uncomfortable?
I'm over it now, so I'm getting there.
Okay. That's funny. Okay, so, and then with that, after releasing Insomnia, did it personally help you in any way, like getting it out there? What was the impact it had on you?
For me, it was kind of like, okay, cool. It was just scratching the surface, because there's still a lot more that I knew that I needed to be transparent and open about. But that was kind of like the kind of like surface level. Like, okay, I'm struggling to sleep because I got X, Y, and Z going through my head, through my mind. But I didn't really unravel or go into what those things were. So for me, it was kind of like just a starting point of, okay, like I'm experimenting with a new sound, and you know, I'm doing something, stepping out of my comfort zone to speak about things that I normally wouldn't want to be out there. So it was kind of like a first step, I guess, baby steps in terms of me being transparent in my music.
Yeah. Even just to ask, so you've mentioned struggling with insomnia, anxiety and depression. How did you get to a place of being able to even talk about those things? Because when you're experiencing it, it's a very, just based on experiencing depression myself, like there's a lot of loneliness and isolation that can come from that. So transitioning from overcoming it to then being at a place of talking about it, how did you get there? Because I feel like there's a lot of hurdles that can come with journeys like that.
The maddest thing is, I feel like I'm still in that journey. Even though I'm much better than before, like I still have tendencies to bottle up sometimes or to suppress, but eventually I will get it out. As of before, I can bottle up for years, because I feel like with me is like I have years of suppressed emotions and bottled up emotions that I'm dealing with, but then I have to deal with my current emotions and current things. So everything is just clashing and mixing them. It's like, right, there's just too much going on. But I guess it's just dealing with them just one thing at a time and as they come. And I feel like is being around the right people as well, that really helped. Because like there's people that the reason why I used to suppress and hold back so much, because there's people that I've opened up to in the past and they've either dismissed it or they've just told me to man up. Or you're a man, you know, like pattern up, you're not meant to be moving like that. Or they've kind of just like laughed it off, or they didn't really care or took it like really seriously. And especially, you know, when you grow up in an African community household, it's like, they don't ramp with any of that mental health, emotional stuff. So it's like,
it's true.
There's nothing much you can do. So it's kind of like, I feel like being able to see other people do it, be transparent and being around the right people, and kind of like, yeah, so what I used to do is just write diaries to God and letters to God. That was kind of like my starting point. And then after that, when I would hear things like, opening up, when I'll open up about something and someone will be like, I've been through that, or I'm currently going through it. And then they'll ask you stuff like, oh, how did you overcome it? So that kind of like, I was like, okay, cool, like there's something here. So it's knowing that my story is not for me, but it's for someone that's potentially still going through it. And if they're able to see me speaking about it and being able to see me, you know, being joyous or getting on with life, knowing that I've been through that, and it's kind of like, it gives them hope. So I guess it was just knowing that it's not about me, and that selfless act of wanting to help people through their issues. But it's like, if they don't know my story, it's kind of like, yeah, how can I start? How can I open up that? So that's, I feel like, so that's what kind of pushed me and prompted me to start being transparent and opening up. And like I said, being around the right people, opening up to the right people that actually made me feel seen, like I'm actually important, like what I'm saying does matter, and not having my transparency being dismissed or kind of like thrown back in my face. So that's kind of like what encouraged me to now start opening up slowly.
I really like the point you mentioned about how when you share with someone and they've been through the same thing, how you feel seen, like there's that relatability of, oh, it's not just me, I'm not alone in it. And especially with the things that you've described precisely, it can feel very like lonely, like nobody else is going through this, it's just you.
No, that's real. I used to always be like, oh, why me, God? It's like, it seems like everybody else around me is just living it up, doing whatever they want, no consequences. And even like as a believer, sometimes I'm like, rah, like, God, am I doing this walk wrong? Because like everyone else around me seems like they're thriving. But then you realize that not everyone has their individual stories. They had their seasons of storms and pain and traumas that they were able to stand the test. And now, obviously, they're able to thrive because they went through what they needed to go through. But a lot of the times, especially when I was younger, I just used to think like, God, why me? If you don't rate me, if you don't love me, just tell me in it. But I definitely, used to feel like I was the only one going through what I was specifically going through. But until people started to speak and talk and open up, then I realized, I'm not the only one that's going through it.
I know you mentioned the role of other people speaking and open up. These individuals, are they family members, friends?
It's a mixture of family member and friends. A mixture of family member and friends. And it's one of those things where it's like, it just made me kind of like crawl back into my shell, and feel like with family members, again, it's that African mentality. So it's kind of like, there's nothing much I could do there. And I get it's like they want to protect us, but it's like sometimes they can be too overprotective to the point where they don't actually see, the issue or the root. It's kind of like, it's one of those things they feel, when they feel like they've experienced so much of life, that it's like, as a young person, you shouldn't be going through that. Like you're just young. Like, come on now. Like I'm old. I've experienced life. I'm working, 10 different jobs. So it's kind of like as a kid, you shouldn't be experiencing issues with your mental and emotional well-being, because we're providing, we're doing everything, and I appreciate that. I value that. But it's like, just because everything is being catered from, that doesn't stop you from still going through things, because life is life. The world is the world, and there's a lot of things to do that's pushing the narrative of how the perfect person needs to look like, and all of these kind of external things that's being pushed through social media and stuff like that. So and just stuff like bullying and stuff like that. None of my family members knew that. Probably some of them still don't know that I've been bullied until they probably actually hear these interviews and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, I couldn't just open up and be like, I'm being bullied. It's like
so now we'll talk about music and the effects of music. So positive, negative, what's your perspective?
I've listened to a lot of music in my 26 years of life. A lot of music. I used to, like I said, I grew up on the old school garage, grime, and then at some point went into American music. So that's the Meek Mills, the Little Snoops, the Rick Ross's and all of them lot, and obviously R&B, hip hop. So many different genres. And then when drill was prominent, then I went into drill. And it's like, I saw the shift. Like whenever I listened to drill, I was always angry. I was always angry. Like I'll be walking, my headphones in, I'm listening to drill, and I just want to punch someone in the face. And it's like, that was around the time I started to glamorize like the road life. Even though I was in Cardiff, like things still went out, they were still beef, like people were still beefing. And I'd find myself in the midst of it, even though that's not me. That's not my like lifestyle, that's not my story. But because of my friends and because of wanting to people please and wanted to belong and be a part of, you know, and just looking up to the wrong people and wanted to do anything that it took to get their approval, it's kind of like I found myself in the mix of, so I started to like really just listen to drill music like back to back. I remember there was an incident, I was in uni, my first year of uni, I could tell the drill music was influencing me in a negative way because I must have been praying, and then what's it called, one of the other dorm like people, they were banging on the wall, basically telling me to shut up, to quieten down, I'm making bad noise, innit? So I ignored it at first, and then he came to the door again, he banged on the door, and he said something in his language, but then mentioned Jesus. So in my head, I'm just thinking automatically, he's taking a mick, he's mocking it. So I went to open the door, and then at that time, obviously my ex, at that time, she stood in front of the door. She's like, just leave it. And then he's there knocking on the door, still speaking his language and saying Jesus, Jesus. And I know he's mocking it. And I must have been like, carry on, and I'm gonna come out there and stab you. And I meant it. Like I literally meant it. I could feel it in my heart that I wanted to do something to him. So we're going back and forth. He quietens down. As soon as I said I'm gonna stab you, he quietens down and went to his room. And then I realized, because I was just so angry to the point where I was close to just like throwing my ex out of the way, and just I could feel like how tense and angry I was. And that's when I realized, music has an influence and impact on you, even though we subconsciously we think that it doesn't, but subconsciously it goes into your subconscious. And it's like I'm not a person. I'm not gonna, you get me? I'm not gonna stab anyone. Like, I'm not stupid enough to do that. Even though I did used to have like anger management in school, but that was a whole separate thing. Like at that point I had dealt with it and I was calmer. So it's like knowing that I'm listening to this music and it's making my mood so rageful. That's when I knew, this music isn't it. So I lessened it, and then obviously over time I transitioned into gospel, and this is like first obviously the traditional gospel, worship, praise, and then I started to find out about all of these different gospel variations. There's gospel drill, there's gospel R&B, gospel rap, and there's all these different type of gospel, and I started to listen to it more. There'll be times when I'll bounce back to listening to normal music, but over time, I'm like, my heart got conditioned to like good music, like godly music. And but I feel like even though I know people argue that music doesn't influence you or impact you, like that's a stretch, but I feel like it subconsciously does. If you listen to something enough times, it'll go into your system. Like for the times when I used to like mess around and, you know, talk to bare different girls and stuff like that, I was listening to like sexual music that would like give me ideas and stuff like that. So I feel like music does play a part. Obviously it's not the overall root factor, but it does have a mitigating factor in part of like your day-to-day life.
And what would you say some of like the positive experiences of music are?
Positive experience of music is just peace. Like when I listen to gospel music, I'm at peace. I just want to praise and worship. I'm calm. And when I'm listening to say for example I'm listening to Dave, like he's not gospel, but I'm listening to his more deeper stuff. It's kind of like I can relate to this, and it's like like he's speaking my life, he's speaking what I've been through, and when he's speaking about encouraging, you know, the youth and you know, just staying off the roads and doing better for yourself, it's like it makes me feel good. It's like I want to share this music because I have people that need to see this. So one of the positive impacts of music is inspirational. You know, it encourages you, it relaxes you, it brings you peace and calmness, and you're just able to just kick back. And I learn a lot, because a lot of the times before like I want to do a song or do a project, I'll study like certain artists by listening to their old stuff and then just kind of like getting a feel of how it works.
And with that, what impact do you want your music to have on other people?
I want people to get saved through my music. That's it really. I want someone to listen to my music and be like, like me, Shack, you know, yeah, I've been suicidal. I've been anxious and depressed, and that your music really resonates with me. You know, how can I get to that place with Christ that you're at? Like, yeah, I just want my music to just shine a light. I genuinely want God to use my music to bring people out of darkness, and just, you know, to inspire people to be better, to do better. Obviously, the end goal is to inspire them to have a relationship with Christ, but I want people to be generally healed and restored through my music. But yeah, that's it.
That's amazing. I just wanted to go through your journey of, you know, you've mentioned in the past struggling with insomnia, anxiety, depression. Throughout that time, were there any females that played a significant role in your journey? And also with that, how can a woman, whether it's a sister, friend, partner, support someone who may be navigating any of those experiences?
Back then, it's kind of like, because I kept everything to myself, I didn't really let anyone in.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say, I can't even give an example. In terms of women, the only example I could give is currently, which would obviously be my partner. Yeah, she's someone that's I've been able to open up to and be transparent, and she won't dismiss it. She won't kind of like emasculate me and be like, oh, you need to pattern up your man and stuff like that. Like she'll generally listen, and like she'll embrace me and kind of like allow me to, like, she wants me to be transparent, like, and open up, and she create that safe space where I can say certain things and not have to worry about kind of like taking it back or just being like, don't worry. So I would say definitely my partner, and that leaders from church as well, 2.0, like people like Auntie Maggie, Mama Mish, who've been journeying with me since I joined ARC. And there's probably others that I forgot about, sorry. But big up to, there's other females that I've been able to have conversation with and briefly tell them about my mental and my emotional stuff, and you know, they'll give me encouragement or pray for me. But yeah, I would say the ones that I named are the main ones. They're actually the main ones still.
And just to end, I guess lastly with that is, for anyone who may be with someone or just around, so let's say you've got a brother or someone that's like, oh, this person's really struggling, I don't know what to do, like I feel a bit powerless in this situation. Is there any advice you'd give them on how to navigate that?
I would say find someone that you can trust, a key person, and just offload. But then obviously is know their capacity as well, is being able to have that conversation. Okay, there's a lot that I'm going through and I just want to get it out. And I feel like the most important thing is having someone that generally is there to listen. Sometimes I feel like we want to have all the right things to say at that time. Like, you know, I want to advise you, I want to tell you what to do, I want to tell you to read, I want to tell you to pray, I want to tell you to fast. But I feel like sometimes people just want to listen in ear. Just find someone that can be like, oh, listen. And then they actually listen, and then they just embrace you. And I take that from the book of Job, when Job was going through what he was going through, and then they just sat with him and cried with him, mourned with him, and just listened. And they weren't trying to like, obviously later on they started chatting a bit too much, but that was the perfect moment, because they just allowed him to be vulnerable rather than trying to fix him and trying to like get him to like pattern up. They were like, just offload, we're just here to carry that burden, to listen, to hear. So yeah, if you can find those good people to be able to do that with, then after that, you lot can just navigate like the journey together from then on.
I really like that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Before we wrap up, can you just share like how people can find you, what we can expect from your music?
So you can find me everywhere, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. So my name is Shack Santima, so that's ShackSantima. Just type that on socials, everywhere it'll come up. What's coming musically is I'm looking to do two projects, a joint EP and a single EP. So currently in the works of working with that, and just more singles, hopefully more shows by God's grace. But that's the plan.
That sounds exciting. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for just being vulnerable as well about your experience.
You're very most welcome. Thank you for having me.